Fear is good and healthy. Fear tells you, that's a bear, run away. But off-grid, homesteading, and prepping done from fear is unsustainable and just leads to a really bad experience. And eventually, you're probably just going to burn yourself out and quit the whole thing. I understand homesteaders who talk about bad times coming. There has never been a time in history when a civilization has not gone through ups and downs and ups and downs. Those are all great warnings, and absolutely 100% we need those people to be sounding the alarm to tell the rest of us, hey, come on, get your act together. But I just know myself. And as a disclaimer, I am a more sensitive person. My husband is not. So I can see these reports and feel very anxious and tense and stressed and fearful. My husband can see them and he's totally fine. He considers it. He goes, okay. And he makes a decision based off of logic and being rational. But in general, no matter how calm or how logical you are, even as that personality, you can still make a bad decision when you're making a decision from a place of fear. And certainly having a homestead and raising children and telling the children that only doom and gloom is coming isn't setting your kids up for a healthy perspective. Now, admittedly, our views of the world are incredibly subjective. My grandmother, who was born right before the Great Depression hit, had to go as a little girl knowing what being hungry was like. And so to this day, she's now 100 years old. To this day, she still hoards food. I never grew up in a time like that. I grew up in the time of Costco and bulk purchases. I don't have the same relationship to food scarcity as my 100-year-old grandmother does. I think when it comes to the topic of hard times, prepping, homesteading, off-gridding, whatever, if we all take a step back and take a holistic view of the world's history, we can then make a logical next best step. So let's do that together. What do we know for sure? Well, we know for sure civilizations have gone through good times and bad, and we are not immune to that. So who did the best in those times when things were rough? People who prepared. Now, how much you prepare is really up to you and what you think is going to happen. Joseph in the Bible prepared for 7 years of famine. He had a good source though. I think for us and our family, a really healthy place to prepare 6 to 12 months of food. But it really depends on you and your family. But keep in mind, prepping and hoarding is a slippery slope. So be careful, and once you get into a place of prepping, it's really easy to go down that slope into that tight-fisted, no one's gonna take from me and everyone's the enemy. That's just... People can be awful, particularly as we saw very recently at the store with toilet paper. You know what I'm saying? People can be awful, yes. But you can also take that step back, see what you can do to prepare for yourself and your family, and just control what you can control. And realize that it probably is not going to go the way that you prepared for, because that's life. It just assume that it's not going to go the way you prepared for, and be prepared to be flexible. Now we know the people who do the best in times of difficulty are people who prepare. So what do you need to do to prepare? Well, doesn't matter where you live, figure out water. That's the biggest one. And not only just having a plan, but also start to incorporate that plan into your life so that you're already doing that thing if hard times happen. That could be rainwater catchment. That could be having a well. That could be having a creek that runs through your property that you pump water from. Do that thing, even if it's not your main water source, do it and practice it. You don't want to learn a new skill when you're thirsty and the world has all fallen down around you or whatever has happened. You don't want to have that be the time that you start to learn how to do the thing to survive. Next, figure out food. Start growing your own food. It is a learning curve. It is intimidating, but figure out what you like to eat. Not what Homesteading Joe does on his YouTube channel, but do what you like to eat. and think of what would keep you going. We can't grow milk chocolate plants, unfortunately, and that won't sustain you anyway. So grow foods that you like to eat that will also sustain you, and start with 3. That's okay. Start with 3. Then move on to another one. When you've mastered that, do something else. Do some things for fun. Watermelon. Watermelon's fun. Now think about what animals would be the best for you. Maybe you don't need a whole cow. Maybe you don't need to be swimming in milk and have a whole dairy cow. I mean, that's meat cow, dairy, that's a lot. Maybe you would like to buy that from the neighbor, but instead, maybe you would do better with chickens or sheep. Just figure out what you would like to do animal-wise, and then if you're in a place that could allow that, a lot of places do actually let you keep backyard chickens, start keeping chickens. Start something simple. Put a vest on your chicken and call it your emotional support animal. I don't know, find a way. Then move on to the things that would be nice to have if times were hard. A variety of things like berry bushes or fruit trees. And kind of like I touched on before, also keep in mind that it could all just burn up. Maybe there's a huge raging wildfire that sweeps through your whole county. Just expect that the unexpected will happen and prepare to be flexible. But stocking up and prepping out of fear will lead to consequences for you later down the road. Because what if you decide to move out into the country right away and you move up to a place with the road being inaccessible during bad weather and you hate it? Like, some people can do it and that's fine. But what if you've done that and then the world hasn't burned down in the next year and you're there hating every single time you have to walk your groceries up when it's snowy or rainy? Or what if you hate commuting and you move way out to the country where you have to commute for an hour and a half? You have to consider those things. What do you want to do? What would be something wise for you and your family that would also be sustainable? And also keep in mind, you could move and do all that stuff and realize that you hate it, and that's okay. Have a plan B. Go do something else. Making decisions out of fear will only lead you to making dumb decisions, not smart ones, and will lead you to burnout. And again, this is not to condemn the people who sound the alarm about bad times coming. I just can't handle that news very easily, and I really need that to filter through my husband. I can know that I'm safe in the moment, and he can help talk to me about those things. That's me. And I'm not mocking people who say that eventually you're going to need to guard your garden with guerrilla warfare and booby traps. that maybe that'll happen. Maybe. We have to be prepared for that too. Just remember, when you are starting to feel fearful, take a step back, relax, and think about the whole situation. And then make the next best step that's right for you and your family.